This is the web service exercise in Java. I have the README file open and I've got the project open as well inside Visual Studio Code. It may take a minute or two. We want to see this Java ready in the bottom left. That lets you know that everything's ready to go. If you do have any errors or warnings, you'll want to fix those. That probably has to do with a version number on your environment. So the POM XML file may have a Java version number that you don't support. So you may need to change that. Otherwise, if it's 00, you're ready to go. Looking at our use case, given the consumer interacts with our web API or web service, when the consumer submits text to an endpoint is a URL combined with an HTTP method, get, put, post, delete, patch, then that endpoint will return a response that reverses the text supplied. So we're going to take in some endpoint from JSON, read the value, reverse it, and then send back a JSON response. We'll start off with our tests. Go ahead and run these. There should just be one and it should fail. And we do get our failure. I'm going to navigate to the test, and we're getting a 400. We'd expect it to be a 200, so we are getting a problem. Let's just take a look real quick at the test itself. Not a lot going on, but we'll just read through this really fast. So we're starting off with our mock MVC object underscore MVC. We're doing a perform method, so we're performing a post, and we're posting to the URL API/mirror/reverse text. So method combined with the URL, that's our endpoint. The content type is going to be JSON, so we're specifying that content type, and the actual content is going to be text. The text property is testing. Now this actually is going to run into a little bit of problems, so let me go ahead and fix this. Hopefully your code doesn't need to be fixed. I'll see if I can get that fixed for the actual code itself, so when you download it, it'll have correct values. We've got a text property whose value is testing with an exclamation point, and then we finally return the result. We're going to get that response back. We're going to get the status for it and the content for it, which will end up being the JSON. We're going to make sure that the status value is 200, meaning OK. 200 is the web's world of OK. Anything in the 400s is going to be a client error. It's something wrong on the caller's end. Anything in the 500s is going to be a server-side error. So we want to make sure it's 200 OK, and then we're going to get the content, we're going to get the root element from a JSON object. So we're going to use the JSON tokener class to get the JSON object. We're going to get the reverse text property, make sure the value is testing in reverse with an exclamation point. So I did make a change to the test. Let's go and run this again and make sure we do get our error. All right, so we do still get our error. It's not passing on the status. So let's take a look and see what's going on. This particular project is using the Spring framework as a part of Java to build out the web service. So under main, under Java, and in the web, there is a mirror controller class. So this uses MVC, much like most of the frameworks that we're using in the white belt level. So this is using MVC, so our controller is going to have our mapping. Sure enough, here is the URL to which it maps. You can also do a find in files, Control-Shift-F to find this from the test. So we want to find where this URL is mapped. It turns out it's here inside this controller. Our response body right now is just returning string, so that is certainly a problem. We're also, and I'm thinking through this, we're getting a 400. Let me change the test. This would actually be double quotes. We should not be getting a 400 error. I would expect something else. Let me run this test again. All right, that looks a little bit better. So we should have been getting a 200, which is correct. The problem is the JSON itself is coming back empty. So this makes more sense. Again, I will change the code to make sure that that is correct on the version of code you download. You should be getting this JSON exception where it's coming back. The reason we're getting the JSON exception is we're returning an empty string. So a new string is just the empty string that has no JSON. So what we need to do is we need to get the value of text from our reverse text request. So let's look at this class really fast. Reverse text request is empty. So we're going to need to add something here. We're going to get the value. So the reverse text request represents an object that maps the JSON incoming to Java classes, Java properties, and fields and methods. So that's what we're going to pull that out. We're going to get that. We're going to reverse the text, and then we're going to send back JSON for that. So starting off, we need to map the incoming JSON. So again, going back to the test itself, the JSON is there's a text property on the JSON object with the value of testing, so it's a string. So we need to map this text property to something in our Java class. The way this typically works is the Spring framework on your model class, this is a model class, on your model class, it's going to look for methods called get and set, whatever the property name is. So in this case, it's going to look for get text and set text. So we'll say these are our property methods, so we'll have a public string get text. We need to do something here, and a public void set text, which takes the value. And again, we'll need to do something here. So these are going to need to have some values. Really, all we need to do is hold on to this inside a field. So let's create a field for our text. And our getter is going to return the text. And our setter is simply going to set value to the text underscore text field. So that's really all we're doing is just a round trip. So when the setter is called, we'll take the value, and this is what Spring is using. It's calling the setter, giving us the value that's coming in, which would be the word testing with the exclamation point. We're taking that value and storing it in this underscore text. And then when we want to get it, we'll simply return this underscore text. So that takes care of the model binding. Let's head back now to the controller. And in the controller, what we're going to need to do is get that text, reverse it, and then send back some JSON. So we'll start off with just the text itself. We'll go to our request object and say get text. There's the method we just created. So that'll get us the text. Now reversing a text, probably the simplest way is using string builder. So I'll say reversed text equals new string builder. Given text, we'll say reverse dot to string. So there's our one-liner for reversing the text. Finally, we need to return back JSON. So we're going to return a string that is our JSON object. So that's all we're doing there. Now here we need to actually pass this reverse text in. And again, there's a few different ways. I can use string format, message format. I'm going to use simple string concatenation. There's lots of ways to create this object the way we want. But it's going to need a property. And let's go back to our test and make sure we understand. It needs a property called reversed text. So we're going to create that property. So escape it. And then it's going to have a value that goes right in between these double quotes. So again, I could use formatting, but I'm going to do simple string concatenation. So I'll use plus signs to concatenate these values together. So now we've got our JSON object. It has a reverse text property. It's got double quotes, and then we're putting in the reverse text value inside. So what this ends up looking like is this. So here is the JSON object it creates. The ellipses would end up being the value of reverse text. So this is the final output that gets created from the line above. All right, let's see how we're doing. Let's see if I've made any mistakes. We'll run the tests. And we have a pass. That basically concludes. We'll check the README file just to make sure. So that makes sure that the test is working. Now we can run this through Maven by running the WAR file and seeing it run inside the browser. So let's go and do that real fast. I'll see if I have Maven correctly installed here. I'm gonna just paste this into a terminal. It's gonna build everything, run it. Lower this a little bit. All right, and so from here, it actually wants to go into Tomcat. I don't actually, let me see if I have Tomcat installed. I do not. So at this point, you would want to run it in Tomcat, and I do recommend going through those steps. Basically, it's a matter of copying the WAR file that got created. And so the WAR file, let's open this up. Let's find our .war file. There it is. All right, so the WAR file is going to be in source mirror API target, and then there's the WAR file. So this file you would copy into Tomcat. Just kind of run through. So stop Tomcat if it started. That'll be in your services. So just go to the Windows services. This will open this up. Find Apache Tomcat. Stop it. Then copy the WAR file from the target folder into the web apps folder. So you'll find wherever Tomcat got installed on your computer, wherever you installed that, go into the web apps folder and copy the WAR file, start Tomcat, and then you will be able to run this URL locally and see the functionality. So that's a final test just to make sure everything's working. Again, I don't have it, but hopefully in a future video, I will install Tomcat and show you what that looks like as well. That concludes the web service in Java.